Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I would like to show you the fastest and easiest way to ingest your JSON styled data into Datacake, and for this we are going to use our API integration. This is one of my sandbox accounts. If you are new to Datacake and signed up, you don't have any devices in here, but you can start directly. Go ahead and click on Add Device. This will bring you into a modal where you can choose the device type, and you can see the third place here we have API. So this is a generic API device with support for MQTT and HTTP. Today we are going to use the HTTP connectivity, but as both is supported here, we just need to click on Next. This now brings you into a section where you're asked for the product. If you're new to Datacake, you don't see any existing product, and usually it says like new product or from template. A product is holding the definition, and you can add multiple devices to a product, making it more easy for scaling. But as we are new to Datacake and want to start from scratch, we are selecting new product. We need to give it a name, and I call this Simon's API demo product. Then we click on Next. Now this adds the devices to the product. We just want to add one device, but we could also add multiple devices simultaneously. But I'm not going to do that, just one device. And the name is preset from the product, but I call this Simon's API demo device 01. Serial number I leave to auto-generate and click on Next. I'm going to stick with the free plan. Every user has 5 devices free, and all the features I'm showing right now are also available on the free plan. Click on Add one device to add the device finally. You can now see it in the list. Now to configure everything, we are going to access the device. Click on the device name in the list. First thing that we need to do is go into the configuration of the device. So use the tab bar, click on configuration, and this will bring you into a new setting dialog where you see like general configuration. You can change things like device names, but what we are interested in is the API configuration and the HTTP payload decoder. In an API device, we also have HTTP payload decoders, also for MQTT, but in this case we are working with HTTP today. And this is a default decoder. And you can see that there's already some code preset here, also some different kinds of options. And also you can see that there's now an HTTP endpoint URL. This is the URL for ingestion or for connecting external services. And this URL is specifically created for the product that we just created. We can also see in here that there's a short description of what we are expecting. So basically, the HTTP payload decoder is able to match any kind of structure. So whatever you send to this URL can be decoded using the decoder. You have access to all of the things like the body, headers, but also request parameters, posts, and get requests, and so on. But right now we are working with a post request and want to send some JSON data. And the default decoder that we have on our API devices already has some base decoding in there. And the structure for this base decoder, as an example, is something like this. So I'm going to copy this now, just for later on. And I'm also going to copy the URL. Now we are going to use a tool to simulate an API request. The tool I'm often using is ReqBin, so it simulates API or HTTP calls. You can use curl, or you can use your Python script, JavaScript, whatever kind of thing, or any third-party software to forward into the Datacake device. First thing I'm going to paste is the integration API URL, and then I'm copying the structure, and let's go to the online API testing tool, and we want to send JSON, but we want to send it as a post request. And then now I'm just going to basically paste in what I just copied from the Datacake decoder template. You can see here device replaced with serial number. And what we need to do now is we need to get the serial number. This is a serial number that we just randomly created upon registration or adding the device, but we could also get or set our own here. So like Simon's device 01. Save. I'm going to copy this and paste this into the corresponding value of my device key in the JSON payload. Okay, so now we're all set, and let's see what happens if I send this now. Datacake responded within 309 milliseconds and says, thanks. And now let's go back to Datacake and reload the page once more. Now we scroll down to the API configuration and HTTP payload decoder, and then you see a button which is show logs. If you click on that, we can see this is the JSON that we were just sending to the device. It was received over the HTTP API endpoint URL and some additional informations in here. Now, because there is a base decoder and we basically copied the structure with this, or which is needed for the base decoder template, we can scroll down a little bit more. And then we get to the fields section. This is where you would usually now create the database fields. But because of there is a base decoder already preset, and this base decoder already does some decoding, it was finding these fields already through the decoder and now brings them as suggested fields. Now we can go ahead and create them. Humidity, integer. And then there is a counter, which was also an integer value. There's state, which is a string. Creating it, if you create it, it always has some suggestions for the type and so on. You need to double check it. Temperature, float. You can also provide a unit and a field role like primary, going to explain what this is in a few. Battery, the unit might be voltage, or let's say percentage because that's cooler. And the role is device battery, going ahead. And I'm going through everything. Now you see location, guest type is location, create the field geolocation. And this is the device location, power, which is a Boolean field. It already guessed it. And there is like an energy. This seems to be a counter, so we're adding it. Another Boolean field, add the field, and the CO2 field, integer. This could be secondary. I'm going to add this field. So now we have created all the fields that our payload decoder was already finding from just simply ingesting the JSON payload. And we can see that there's no current value right now. So we just created those fields. Let's just retry the sending once more. Send it, and we can see now that all of the values are now in the database and have been recorded here on Datacake. So now it's time to go ahead and create a dashboard. You can start this by going into the dashboard tab and clicking this button here to enter the edit mode. Click on add widget, select the value widget, data, then select, for example, temperature. The unit would be Celsius. You can also create a gauge. Let's make a very simple one, but just to explain you how this works. Save this, and maybe also we are going to add a Boolean data, and we are going to select the power. You can provide custom titles, you can provide custom translations and also buttons. And on appearance, you can also say like power on, power off. And for example, also set custom colors. Now we have added both of these widgets in here, but there's also a widget, which is the device fields widget. And we can basically include all fields in here. This makes it super easy to have like first debugging on the dashboard. That's what we need to do. So now let's go ahead back into our simulation in here. Let's simulate a slightly higher temperature of 32 degrees. And the power is now false. Send this back to Datacake. And there we can see the update of the dashboard. We now have 32 degrees, the power is off, and we can see it reflected in here. So this is the most easiest way to ingest data and create a dashboard. This works on the free plan with all of the devices. And now let's go ahead and create another device and add this to the same product, just to explain what the product type is about. Again, we click on API, and now we can see existing products, and we have the Siemens API device, API demo product in here. So we are not going to create a new product. We are going to use the existing product. Select the Siemens API demo product, and we are going to create Siemens device API demo device 02, Siemens device 02. Next, we are adding it to the free plan, and we can see that we now have a second device. Now, remember, I needed to create everything for the first device, but if I go into the second device, I already have the dashboard available here. Yeah, the dashboard is there, but no data. And now Siemens device 02 is the serial number. If I'm going to change the serial number on my JSON to Siemens device 02 and 10 degrees, battery to, oh no, we said it's percentage. So we are making like 52%. Humidity, I'm going to leave everything else. Just send it, the same API. And now back to Datacake. We can see, okay, 18 seconds ago, 10 degrees, power is off. And this is how you can use the API devices and the API payload decoder. And it always comes with a default structure, and it allows you to simply add a couple of new fields. Just to show you, if I would add like a new field here, which is ambient light, just a random value or a custom string, hello world, send this now. Remember, these have not been added to the database of Datacake devices, but if I go into that device and reload it, and now it doesn't matter if it's on the first or second device because this configuration here is product-wide. Same goes for the field section. And now I can see ambient light and custom string, as a new suggestion because it was finding that there's new data coming through the JSON. We can now go ahead and create ambient light, custom string, go to devices, select this device, add the widget, value widget, data, and then custom string, save this. And because it hasn't been recorded yet, because I just added this field, I need to send it again. Now back to Datacake, but I was sending it for device 02. And we can see we have the hello world in here, just added to the dashboard. Now you can go ahead with all the additional stuff like setting up rules, inviting members, going to the workspaces, create a workspace dashboard, or for example, share the whole dashboard with a QR code. You can now actually scan it with your phone and access my dashboard. However, what we need to do is basically also create a mobile dashboard layout. We have two different kinds of layouts. Now everything is set up. And what I mentioned before about those primary and secondary, these are identifiers which are needed for the cards, for example. And then we can also see the sidebar dashboard. That's it. That's the fastest way how you can use custom JSON data from any kind of device or service, ingest it through HTTPS webhook requests for custom products, and build your dashboards and have devices ready, and then continue to use things like rules, reports, and so on. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.